that's the other half of the Okay, so my name is Tracy, and my research project was Asian American women and the double eyelids. And so basically what a double eyelid is in this picture you'll see an eye with a single eye crease, and this one here has a double eyelid, which is an eyelid crease, a little wrinkle that runs along the inner part of the eye to the outer part of the eye. And a lot of people don't really know what this is or don't recognize it because they already have it. But half of the Asian population, they have single eye crease, so they lack this, or they just don't have a double eyelid. And it's been a recent kind of growing phenomenon that a lot of Asians, especially Asian women, have been going to undergo double eyelid surgery to create a double eyelid where there probably wasn't one before, or there wasn't one that was deep enough. And so there has been research on why these women get surgery, but my question was less about surgery and more about what the reasons were behind this attitude towards double eyelids and why there's a preference for double eyelids over single eyelids, as well as what the influences were and the roles of influence that behind why these women felt the way they did. And so I interviewed 10 women, 10 undergraduate women here at UC Berkeley, 5 of them having double eyelids, 4 of them having single eyelids, and 1 of them having one of both. So basically what I got was some of the reasons that they told me that they prefer, oh, and by the way, all 10 of them said that they prefer double eyelids over single eyelids, which I think is pretty significant. And so, you can just keep passing around. And so some of the reasons that were listed were just the physical appearance of a double eyelid. And I think that may be explained just because if you can see in the picture, the double eyelid, it'll just keep coming around. It looks a little bit bigger. And like we've read before, more biological meanings of what is beautiful and what is favorable, a larger eye is considered more attractive, or people tend to like them more. And I mean, in the picture you can see it kind of looks wider. The eye looks a little bit wider. And then also the prevalence of this feature, just in the faces we see around us, like here today, like I think I'm the only one, maybe you, with a single eyelid, and most people around us have double eyelids. Also, the media images and beauty standards and beauty ideals, all the faces will have double eyelids, and not even in American media, not just in American media, but also in Asian, TV networks and in magazines and advertisements will all have this feature. And so it's kind of the only feature we see that is beautiful in terms of like the eyes. They will have double eyelid. And then also one of the reasons that were given to me were just the ease of cosmetic application. This might have something to do with the way the eye looks, but it also may have something to do with oftentimes when women learn how to do makeup, they do it, they learn through their friends, they learn through magazines or TV or whatever it may be, but a lot of times when there are tutorials being done, a lot of it is on double eyelids. So the people with single eyelids probably wouldn't know what to do, or it might be a little more problematic or difficult. And the last one is that there was a social stigma that was associated with single eyelids, and it's kind of hard to explain because you can't really track down where the social stigma comes from. Some of it may be because smaller eyes often have a sort of negative racial connotation to it. Like, I'm sure many of you have heard the term slanty eyes before. And so some research has said that since there's a negative connotation, people might not like it as much, and people make stereotypes based off of racial features or facial features just like this. And so as for the influences behind double eyelids, one of the more popular ones that many people say is because it's racial, or because people want to look like the people around them, or look more white or European. But the ones that I found were different. One of the biggest influences of my research, or that the women said to me, was that their family was a really big influence, so family upbringing. And so this can kind of be explained just because we learn from people in our surroundings, and the first people that we encounter in our lives are our families. And So this could also be seen, like when I asked the women about how they felt about double eyelid surgery, the women who looked more favorably upon it had family members who also looked, who also thought of it favorably. And then the women who absolutely did not like it at all also had family members who didn't. And the ones who kind of were neutral about it, their family members never really talked about it, so they didn't have much to work with. So it kind of, their opinions kind of echo what their families tell them. And then so the second one I have is the mothers, which is related to the family upbringing. Okay, so this, the mothers kind of made the responses more dramatic. So for the women who did talk about the mothers, like they had much stronger opinions. They said absolutely, it's okay to have surgery, it's a good thing, or it's absolutely a bad thing. So then third is media, which I talked about before. These are the beauty standards that we see. Beauty standards have the double eyelid. So the women that were in my study, the ones who watch TV, which read magazines and look at these images, which are all around us, will think that that's more beautiful if that's what they're associated with. And then social surroundings is just like what I talked about also before. It's just the people around us having the double eyelid, and it's just all around us. So we tend to think when we're exposed to something, we tend to like them more. And so that's basically what I found in my research.
Thank you. Nick.
All right. So you say that a good example of your of the people that you interviewed are affected, or at least that they have the same opinion as their family members, right? Can you compare that to the same influence that the magazines have on these people? So, I mean, what I assume is that magazines usually tend to be like Western magazines, and they tend to have models, with double as Asian Americans. So, do you think, can you compare the influence of these magazines to the influence of, let's say, their families, opinion of the double eyelid?
Well, I want to say that they're different in that when when I'm talking about the family, I'm talking about how they grow up and like the lessons and what's actually blatantly said about it. And then when we're talking about magazines, we're looking at images and images of beauty. So it's less about just learning about it, but more about exposure. And so the more we see something, the more we like it. Whereas with family, it's like, oh, if we talk about it and my mom says she likes it, then it's a good thing. But if my mom says she doesn't like it, it's not a good thing. With magazines, it's just, okay, double eyelids are everywhere, so it's implied that it's beautiful, and therefore I'm going to like it more, not because of like my parents say. So I don't know if that kind of.
I see. Yeah. One thing I noticed about what you said, and because what you said about 50% of Asians they have double eyelid. So do you think that the other half, the single, if I can generalize,
Single eyelids.
Yeah. So do you think that they're performing this operation to model the other half of the Asian population, or to model the Western culture?
That's kind of one of the harder questions that I've had to tackle, because many people, if you guys recall, we read Eugenia Kaw, and she argued that we were, it was more about erasing ethnic identity or stereotypes to fit in with people around us. I kind of made that same argument in my research paper, because there's not really any way to know if you're trying to look more like another type of Asian, or if you're looking like somebody else. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Thank you.
You said that these standards, the double eyelid. I'm just curious. Have you looked into the Asian American celebrities? I know there's not that many, but I know there's some. And do they have one or two? Have they had surgery?
So I don't actually know if they've gotten surgery, but that's another one of the things that's kind of interesting, is that when we look at American media and like movie stars, there are maybe two that I can think of that are Asian. Both of them have double eyelids, and it also has something to do with exposure. Like if we look at American movies, American magazines, and we see faces that all have double eyelids, and then we see a face that kind of looks like ours, like maybe an Asian face, and it also has a double eyelid, then it kind of, it's pretty obvious that, this is